Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hey people, what's up? It's time to do the exhaust on the Pontiac. It's got to be done while it's over the pit. Well, it doesn't have to be, but it makes it easier. And then I've got to shift it over to this side here. Trying to keep this area clean and dust free, and this one here has still got a lot of work needs doing on it, so I've got to shift that into the work area. That's my dust free area. Anyway, while I do that, before I do that, sorry, I'm going to crawl underneath and I'm going to start planning out the exhaust. It's not going to be an easy one to do. I'll show you in a minute why. As you can see, she's already got the block hugger headers on it. So I've just got to go from the headers back. I've got to rip this motor out and tidy it up. I've got to paint the firewall and all that as well. So it's got to come apart a bit, but this is what I got. These are the header flanges, so that's where I start. But I've got some V-bands, a few assorted mandrel bends, some nice straight through mufflers. You can't see that. Oh. Cut, edit. Anyway, as you can see there you go, straight through. But I've got my pipe here as well. I'm probably just going to dump it straight over the diff so it's got a nice deep sound. But yeah, I'll open the pit up and we'll get down there and I'll have a look, see what we're going to do. Okay, it's kind of hard to see down here because it's dark and everything, but this isn't your typical ladder chassis. It's more of an X-shaped chassis. As you can see, it meets in the middle and then branches out again down the other end into like a four-link type coil sprung rear end, which is probably ahead of its time for 1964, but it makes it hard for fitting exhausts, because where do you put the crossover? I mean, sorry, I'm blocking. Obviously that's where the block huggers come down. And you got to drop it down and miss the oil filter, and then there's not even any relief for the exhaust to fit through the cross member there. So it's a really weird design. I'm going to have to think about this. I think I might have found my answer here. As you can see, I might need some more pipe. There seems to be a lot of bends and a lot of contours, so yeah, I might have to get more. So I started with just loosely bolting the flange onto the headers. First thing I've noticed straight away is that cross member's in the way. So I'm going to have to cut the flange shorter up here. I might even do a little pie cut just to flick it out a little bit so I can start the process. And I'm going to bring the exhaust from here straight through just the other side of this control arm, and then back the outside of the chassis, as you've seen in those photos. This side over here, it's going to be, sorry, this side here is going to be even tighter because we've got the starter motor to contend with. There's a little bolt just here. I think it's going to interfere with the flange. You're going to have to see if we can get a hacksaw blade in there and just trim that off. Tell you what, if I ever become a rich and famous YouTuber, I'm buying a hoist. This pit business is crap. So, my old one blew up. She had smoke pouring out of it. A Zito, very cheap. They don't last forever. But they do have a 5-year warranty. So $199, you can't go wrong. Let's unbox it. G'day guys, it's a whole new day, a beautiful day it is at that. It's Anzac Day, which means it's a public holiday and no shops are open. So if I run out of supplies, I have to wait till tomorrow. I've come to the conclusion that my 620 makes an awesome workbench. So I am set up to go. Been shifting my shed around a little bit. I've got my metalworking bar here, which is just a piece of box tube welded to some legs. It's got my little steel metal bender on it, and my vise. Supposed to have my bench grinder on the other end, but it's only temporary. I'm going to make a proper workbench right there. Pontiac, we're doing some exhaust, so let's do it. So I got myself set up here, as you can see on the back of the ute, truck, whatever. I've just tack welded the flange to the rest of the pipe because I want to cut it up here, and I don't really want to hold it with my fingers that close to the cutting wheel. I like my fingers, so I've just got to snip that off. So I've got to make a pie cut. So the first thing I've done is, this is a 2-inch pipe, so I've marked, that's the seam where they've welded the pipe from the factory. What I've done is I've clamped it down so it's exactly 1 inch from that line to the bed of my truck. Now, what you got to do then is go to the other side. Whoop. A cheap bloody tripod here, and measure exactly 1 inch from the floor up. That puts your center line on both sides. This will become clearer in a minute. So these are pie cuts. As you can see, they are swinging around, and that's what makes you bend. So that's how you make your lobster tail manifolds and exhausts. So you look at one individually, thinner at the top, thinner at the bottom than it is at the top. Now, if you look at the center line down the middle of the pie cut, and you go either side, the ideal angle is 4.5 degrees, because if you add all that up together, add them all together, you can make a perfect 90-degree angle or 45-degree angle, or whatever you want to do. Now, I made a few because this is the first time I've ever done pie cuts, so I made a few just to get the right length, because the length of the pie cut makes a big difference of the angle of the dangle. Anyway, I'll run you through. I'll run you through how I did it. As you saw before, I measured off the factory weld seam, and then I made another one on the other side. I just used a straight edge to, sorry, where is it? I used a straight edge to draw it on there. Now what you got to do, now this isn't a very accurate angle finder. Now I've got it set at 5 degrees because I think it might be 0.5 degrees out. I had it at 45 degrees. There, flies. I had it at 4.5 degrees the first time and the angle just didn't seem enough. Now what you do, the problem with using a drop saw is the blade flexes and it doesn't give you a perfectly flat cut. But what I've done is, I don't know if you can see right there, I've marked exactly an inch up on the clamp, and then so that way I can line up that mark with the line on the pipe. Now I'll make one cut on one side, that gives you the 4.5 degrees on that side, and then you spin it around to the other line and line that up, and then you make your other cut, and that gives you your 9 degree pie cut. So it's 4.5 plus 4.5 makes 9 degrees all up. So as I was saying, it's 4.5 degrees on either side of the center line, which makes 9 degrees. Now if you add 9 degrees together 5 times, that makes 45. If you add it together 10 times, that makes 90 degrees. So that's how you get your perfect 45 degree, 90 degrees, 360 degrees, 180 degrees. That's how you get your perfect angles. It's got to be a 9 degree cut. So 4.5 equals 9 degrees. You can make them bigger again as long as they add up to that even number. So anyway, I'm going to start welding. So I'm using a SIG weld 175i, which is a 3-in-1 arc welder, TIG welder and MIG welder. So I'm running straight argon for the TIG and Argo shield for the MIG. It's not a bad little welder, it's good for an entry-level welder, but it can't weld aluminium because it's not an AC alternating current welder. I'm going to get one of those later on, and then this will be just the MIG welder. Right, so I've got it all set up here in the vise, clamped down so I can put a few tack welds on it. Just get a tack on it, a couple of tacks on it, then we'll take it down under the car again and we'll see if it's going to clear that cross member. Oh, I better put it on TIG first. Oh, I'll be blowing massive holes in it. Right, got gas. One side. Just gotta put my gloves on. I want to burn myself. Skin's good to have on your fingers. One on this side. Okay. Okay, so it does now clear the cross member. Got about 1/2 inch clearance, which should be enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut about 2 or 3 inches off the end of this pipe on another 4.5 degree angle, and then I'm going to kick it out towards where it's got to face to kick out the outside of the chassis rail there. So that's the little J pipe with the pie cut welded in. I'm just going to TIG it all up now, so let's go. The flange is all bolted up and it's facing pretty much where I want it. So now I've got this angle here. I'll weld it onto this pipe here, but I've got to cut it so it's in the right length. So it shoots straight out the side. Then I can start running it up along the side of the chassis. So I'm pretty bloody happy, if I do say so myself. First weld there was a bit ordinary, had a bit of contamination. I really should get some acetone to clean it up a bit better, but overall the shape's looking really good. I'm just tacking them up for now until I get it to a stage where I'm up to the mufflers, and then I'll stop and have a weld fest. But now I've got to kick this up a little bit so I can follow it along the outside of this chassis here. This is a original factory muffler hanger here. Unfortunately it's missing it off of the other side, so I'm thinking it might have been a single system at one stage originally. Anyway, I'm going to make some more pie cuts and then I'll come back and see you. As I was saying before, it takes 5 of these 9-degree pie cuts to make a 45-degree angle. So this is a 45-degree angle, and it's pretty much the same. But when you exit a angle like this, you've also got to have a 4.5-degree angle on the straight, like that, so it comes out of it on the right angle. Otherwise you're going to overshoot your 45 degrees. Well, that's the hard part done. As you can see, she's kicked out the other side of the chassis. Now it's time to measure up a piece of straight pipe through here and join it up to a muffler. I think I'll do this video in 2 parts. I got this far. It's very time consuming, especially when it's the first time you've ever done this. I've got all the pie cuts all tacked up. The muffler goes right here. I just got to weld the flange on the muffler before I can put it on. I've fitted it to the car and it fits really well. You'll see that in the next part. I've got to go inside and have something to eat before I die, so I'll see you in part 2.